My name is Michelle. I'm from Indonesia, Jakarta. I have been living in Singapore for the past 12 years. I met Aloysius through work. Last time it was around March 2015 at Gardens by the Bay. We never really had like a romantic will you be my boyfriend, will you be my girlfriend, that kind of thing. And I'm also a very outspoken person. So as I saw him making a move on me back then, I already thought, this guy like me, is it? I just asked him directly. I said, do you like me? And then he said, oh, how you know? Yeah, I like you. He was very hardworking. He was very strong-willed and ambitious because I was as well. Yeah, so he was one of a kind, and I thought that, I found the guy version of me. Yeah, so that's why I like him. We were always together, both personal and work. And that was actually the kind of marriage that we want. We don't want to be just a part of each other's life, but we want to be the whole part of each other's life. Our relationship went very fast. Back then, because we were quite decisive, we already had a set of criteria. I want this from a husband. Then he said, I want this from a wife. And so after we matched, the match is like almost 10 out of 10. So we thought, okay, go ahead. He knew about Jesus, but he was not devoted to God. We met with Pastor Jason and Pastor Judith on June 2018 for our premarital counseling. So usually during the premarital counseling sessions, Pastor Jason would have to be the one doing all the tough job by getting through Aloysius' head. Yeah, and Aloysius would even go to the certain extent of banging the table. Yeah, but after Pastor Jason explained to him all the explanations from the Bible, Aloysius couldn't refute much. And so he will always come back home with a headache all the time. And after we finished the session with Pastor Jason and Pastor Judith, I had to be the one taking over all his refutes, arguments, questions, queries, all the way. He can do everything by himself. So whatever he achieved, he always thought that everything was from his own strength and his own might. But around the end of 2018, Pastor Jason actually brought Aloysius to his kitchen. He then on the stove in the kitchen, and then there's a fire there. And he asked Aloysius to put his hand on top of the fire, and Aloysius did, but he quickly retrieved back his hand. Then Pastor Jason told Aloysius, put your hand there a little bit longer. Obviously, Aloysius said no, because it's hot. Pastor Jason told Aloysius, so you see, Aloysius, this is just a very small glimpse of hell. You can't even put your hand there on top of that small little fire for 1 minute. Can you imagine your whole body burning in fire for eternity? And Aloysius became very conscious of the existence of heaven and hell, and that whole experience changed Aloysius' life. Aloysius became more and more eager to seek God, and he became to want to obey God. He would often tell me, before we make any decision, we have to always think, what would Jesus do? And he also often tell me that loving Jesus means putting Jesus as the number one priority in our life. He should love Jesus more than he loves me, and I should love Jesus more than I love him. But through that, he actually became a better fiancé, a better friend, a better son, and a better brother to both of our families. We started our relationship with the intention of getting married. So just 2 years after we started dating, we already booked the hotel venue for our wedding already. Around 3 days before we flew to Bali for our pre-wedding photo shoot, Pastor Judith suddenly called me and she said that she wants to meet up with me, but just the two of us. When she talked to me, she tried to choose her words very carefully, as if she's prepping me not to be shocked. God told her to tell Michelle there's no wedding for her. Both of us were very confused because back then, really, everything was good. Both me and Aloysius were good, both of our family were good. It's just 3 days before we flew to Bali for our pre-wedding photo shoot and just 5 months away from the wedding date. So what could go wrong? But she also told me that she saw another vision, that I was standing alone, everything around me fell apart, and my whole world crumbled down. But she said God's hand lift me up. But back then I thought visions are just visions. Visions could be wrong. So I always took visions with a pinch of salt. However, when I went back and told Aloysius about those visions, Aloysius reacted very differently from me. He took it very, very seriously. He concluded that maybe, if there's one death in our family member, then maybe, yes, we might need to postpone the wedding. So with that thought in mind, he kept on telling people more and more about Jesus. Yeah. So through the many attempts of Aloysius sharing the Gospels of Christ to many other people around him, he helped his own family to know more about Christ. Usually, Aloysius would always pick me up to go to work together. But on that day, he told me to stay at home, so I did. But around 11 a.m., I tried to call him because I wanted to ask if he wants me to bring him food for lunch to the office. But there was no pickup. But around 2 p.m., I heard my mom receive a phone call. And then she was gasping and crying. I overheard that Aloysius' dad was on the other line, so I quickly grabbed the phone from my mom and I asked Aloysius' dad to tell me clearly what happened and obviously don't joke around with me. But he kept on telling me that Aloysius has met with an accident. He has passed away. I told him no, I could not believe it and I refused to believe it. Show me some proof. I need to see the body. Aloysius' dad gave me one whole big bag of transparent plastic bag. When I saw that bag and I saw all the things inside were all Aloysius' things from the car, I fell down to the floor once again because I really couldn't take it. I said no, Aloysius might not have really passed away because I have not seen Aloysius' body yet. I need to see Aloysius' body first for me to really know that Aloysius has passed away. And I just kept on crying and crying and crying. I didn't want to accept it. The first night of Aloysius' passing, I could barely sleep because there were many things that I wanted to say to him, I wanted to ask him, but he's just not there. And around 4 a.m., I went to the kitchen because I usually always make Aloysius' favorite ginger tangyan every day. And in my kitchen, I found one whole bucket of ginger. And I started peeling the ginger one by one all the way until 7 a.m. When I was doing that, I can feel that my whole body was so painful and I felt like I wanted to puke all the time. But I always thought to myself that I cannot get sick because I needed to see Aloysius' body right afterwards. So around 9 a.m., I went to SGH mortuary. So this room has many square metal boxes in it. And he opened one of the metal box and he dragged Aloysius out from there. So the moment I saw Aloysius' body being dragged from there, it was like another sudden realization that, oh no, it was him. It was really, really him. When I touched his face was old. That was my biggest nightmare came to life. Aloysius once said to me, I don't understand why people have to cry in funeral. If I die, I would actually be very happy, because I would be with my Papa God in heaven. So you all must be very happy for me, okay? To honor him, I refused to cry. I forced myself not to cry. Many people came to me and said, oh, thank God, Michelle, you're not in the car, those kind of things. But every time people say those things, in my head I wish I'm in the car. Because either I could save him, or even if I cannot, I could just die together with him. But I really wish I was in the car. I really did my best not to cry at all. Sometimes I even would just think that Aloysius was just sleeping, so I would even go to his casket and just touch him. Then I just talk to him as if he's really just sleeping. During Aloysius' cremation day, when Aloysius' body was about to be cremated, I heard many people say bye, bye. That word bye was so heavy on me and I could not bear to say bye. So I shouted instead. I said, see you again. After I shouted this see you again, I hear many people changing their byes to see you again. But now I've realized that line, see you again, was actually the start of my suicidal thought. After Aloysius was cremated, every day I asked God to take my life. I could not bear with the pain. And since I know that Aloysius is in heaven, and since I miss him so much, I told God, really God, please take me to heaven to be with Aloysius now. So many times I put myself in dangerous situation. Usually when I was driving, I would tend to put my car in a position whereby it's easily banged by another car, or I would be very happy if it rains, hoping my car would skid. Sleeping was actually the hardest for me. I literally had to put both me and Aloysius' photo in a monitor to be light up so I could see those photos even in the dark. I just kept on crying and crying and crying until I fall asleep. 1 month later, Pastor Jason and Pastor Judith were extremely worried because they could not see any improvement in me. I was still kept on crying. I could not even eat properly, and I really tried my best to accept that Aloysius was gone. But it was very, very hard. Until one day, I heard Pastor Judith and Pastor Jason sharing that it is possible to find joy in the midst of suffering. Joy is not depending on our circumstances and situation. Joy is a decisive decision when we choose to obey God fully and the willingness to accept my portion. My portion is, I have to accept that Aloysius has gone home to heaven to be with the Lord. I cannot see him anymore in this lifetime. One night, as I was driving home, I told God, I said, God, I have made my decision. I choose to obey you, and I choose to be willing to accept my portion. So help me, God. Heal me, God. I just want to live. I just want to be able to breathe again. Suddenly, something happened. Right inside me, I felt that there's this springs of rivers of living water just gushing up from my belly. There's this great joy that was breaking from inside of me. This unspeakable joy was completely unexplainable because as I look at my situation and my circumstances, nothing has changed. But something changed within me, and I suddenly felt a supernatural joy. that moment, I'm able to smile. God knows what was truly aching inside of my heart without me even have to ask Him directly. Why did God put Aloysius in my life in the first place? Because I felt if I don't even know Aloysius and he's gone, I wouldn't even be sad at all, right? But God put Aloysius in my life. And then after, I felt that I worked so hard to bring him closer to God, and until he became a devoted Christian. And it's time for me to finally reap my harvest by having Aloysius as a godly husband of mine. God just took Aloysius from me like that. Then God showed me the whole blueprint of whatever happened and why it happened. And I saw a vision of a chess, and I saw God's hand moving the players. And it was very clear, He was trying to say that I am just the players. But He was the mastermind. He knows everything. He could think of all the things I could not even imagine. And whatever His plan and purpose is all so beautiful, and it's because He loved all of us. He did not just love me, but He loved Aloysius too. He loved all our families too, and He loves everybody. Who am I to say that I worked so hard to save Aloysius? Because in the end of the day, it's God Himself who saved, not me. My thoughts are not God's thoughts, and my ways are not God's ways. For as the heaven is higher than the earth, so our God's ways are higher than my ways, and God's thoughts are higher than my thoughts. I have made many plans that I thought was the best for me, but I realized all of them were not. Easter was actually very meaningful to him because he would fast on Good Fridays, and he often told me, this is to remember that Jesus has died for us. Or Jesus, carried the cross, suffered for us, and died for our sins, just so that we may be saved. All of us, no matter how great we think we are, no matter what we have achieved so far on earth, no matter how good deeds we thought we've done on earth, charity, no matter how holy we think we are, we will never reach God's level. And back then, me and Aloysius understood it very well. But Jesus came to earth to save sinners like the both of us, so that we don't go to hell. Because by right, we all will go to hell. We all fall short of the glory of God. But Jesus came and saved us from all those things. And He promised us that as long as we believe in Him, we will be in heaven with Him someday. And that's a promise, and beautiful promise that God has given us. Aloysius is in heaven now, because I believe what the Bible says in John 3:16. Aloysius believed in Jesus Christ as his personal Lord and Savior. He only prayed and worshipped one God, and that's Jesus Christ only. And I'm the witness that he walked this faith by pursuing an obedience living in Christ Jesus until the day he passed away. So I'm very sure and I'm very certain that Aloysius is already happy in heaven with his beloved Papa God.